As we head towards colder weather, it's important to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations and protected from COVID-19. The Native American Community Clinic is now administering the updated Pfizer bivalent booster. The updated bivalent booster helps protect against the original COVID-19 strain and against newer Omicron variants. And it will help restore protection that has decreased since previous vaccinations. People age 5 and older are now recommended to get an updated bivalent booster dose at least 2 months after their last COVID-19 shot. That means the bivalent booster may be given after a person's primary series or after their last booster shot, regardless of what brand you received before. Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should get vaccinated. Right now, at the Native American Community Clinic, you can get COVID-19 vaccines, including updated boosters, at the same visit as other vaccines. However, if you've received a recent monkeypox vaccine, you may need to wait 4 weeks before you can get a COVID-19 vaccine, and you should discuss this with your provider. Schedule your vaccination appointment with the Native American Community Clinic by calling 612-872-8086.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick. Clear tonight with a low of 19, then sunshine Wednesday with a high of 39.
Black Friday starts early at Warner Selling Appliance with deals you can't find anywhere else, like free dishwasher installation on brands like KitchenAid, an exclusive 5% savings plus a Black Friday bonus of up to $800 on packages from select brands. Shop now at warnersellian.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. And we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Ogama, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of Native Roots Radio is brought to you by MNsure. MNsure helped me find a plan that worked for me, and they helped me save money. Did you know that most Minnesotans qualify for savings through MNsure, and they have free experts who can help you sign up for coverage? Go to mnsure.org today to get started and get covered.
Hey, we have a great show tonight. We're going to have Rachel Thunder on and talk about the whole walk for Leonard Peltier, the Justice Walk, and we're excited to have her on. And as you know, we talk about Native issues, and we have news that you don't hear anywhere else on Turtle Island. So I'm going to hand over the show to Ogama with the news. So welcome, Ogama.
Hey, Bonjour relatives. My name is Ogamaganu Akwe. I'm a member of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota, and I have a little bit of news for you here today. Something happened in the Twin Cities today. There was a press release that just came through in honor of Indigenous Peoples Month. A dozen or more water protectors had gathered at the DNR headquarters in St. Paul. I believe that's over on Lafayette. And the press release states that the Minnesota DNR has failed to protect the lands and waters of Minnesota. During the exceptional drought of 2021, the DNR allowed the multinational corporation Enbridge to dewater 5 billion gallons of water during the Line 3/93 construction. The state of Minnesota later was informed of an unreported aquifer breach next to the main terminal in Clearbrook, Minnesota, and there were 3 other documented aquifer breaches along the route, and many more are now being investigated. There were 26 reported frackouts of drilling fluid during horizontal directional drilling processes, and damage waivers were given for the process, but damages to the land and waters are not temporary. They are permanent, and water protectors intend to occupy space outside the DNR headquarters with a sacred fire and prayer. Today, November 22nd, representatives of Rise Coalition, the Indigenous Environmental Network, Wadukawad Amikwag, and citizens of Minnesota signed the press release. So we weren't able to get down there this morning when that action happened, but so far there's been a few photos that have come out, and it's it's powerful, Robert, when our relatives get together and talk about those important things that are happening.
Well, we need to resist, divest, and join a group and run for office. So that's awesome that the group was down there at Lafayette, the DNR, right? The building.
Yeah, the DNR building in the Minnesota DNR, like the press release said, is currently only investigating 3 aquifer breaches, but there's been several places from the citizen science group, Wadukawad Amikwag, which is translatable to those who help the beaver. And they've done a lot of surveying. They did aerial surveillance of the route and have come up with a lot more damages than are being reported to the DNR. And those agencies so far, to their knowledge, have not investigated those issues. And, this spells big trouble for Minnesota's water. And I am for one of those concerned Minnesota tribal people who, as a woman and as an Anishinaabe woman, my role is to protect the water. And for those of you who don't know what's going on, make sure you're checking out and getting involved with those groups and those things that can help to make a difference and make change. Wadukawad Amikwag, Rise Coalition, MN 350, the Indigenous Environmental Network. Robert, what are some of those other groups? Do you know any other ones?
Well, no, you caught them all, but what I want to say too is because we're live right now on 9 shows in Wisconsin, or 9 stations in Wisconsin, is that it's coming there too with Line 5. Enbridge is not stopping, and of course we've been talking about ICWA and the whole fight on ICWA, and really what ICWA is all about is stealing our land and fighting against our sovereignty. So stay tuned to Wisconsin, because we've had our battle and are battling here in Minnesota with Enbridge and all these foreign companies.
Yes, stay tuned and keep yourself involved over there. I do believe that there's 350 groups in Wisconsin. I think there's a Madison 350 group that you could get involved with there. And many of these groups from Minnesota and Michigan fighting Line 3 and Line 5 are ready and willing to come help you take a stand in whatever way you may need to help protect your resources and water over in Wisconsin. So don't be shy. You have backup over here.
My eye is twitching again here. This is ridiculous, bogus stuff that we've been going through for 500 years.
Exactly. And it doesn't, at this point, it doesn't show any sign of stopping, pun intended, as we come into the holiday season, that just because it's winter does not mean these companies and these corporations and people that stand to gain power and financial gain from Native people losing our sovereignty have slowed down. So keep your eyes peeled on what happens with this ICWA case as well. There's been some rumors that some of the funding for these ICWA cases in the Supreme Court is directly coming or indirectly coming from people that may be financed from that. I can't get any confirmation on that anywhere, but I mean, these companies definitely.
It is
Oh,
not
go
a
ahead,
rumor.
Robert.
I'm sorry. It is not a rumor. It is true. So I just want to verify that these are sponsored. This ICWA fight sponsored by oil companies. They're paying their lawyers are doing it for free. So it isn't a direct attack on sovereignty. And I just want to say one thing too. I'm thinking about Thanksgiving, and 6 years ago, Ogama. I don't know. I'm sure you have more news. I don't mean to break into what you're saying, but I was at Standing Rock, and there was 20,000 people there, and Jane Fonda was there too. But so were we, and it was like the second largest city in North Dakota that week.
Yeah, yeah. I heard about that, and I didn't get a chance to go to Standing Rock as much as it hurt my heart to not be there. My other responsibility as an Anishinaabe woman is to my children, and I didn't have a safe place for my child if I would have gone. And I had heard about some of the things that were happening there, and many of those things that happened there, like surveillance, violence, those types of things from police and other agencies like Tiger Swan also happened here in Minnesota. And there's an ongoing case against the Aiken County Sheriff Dan Guida for his role in taking money from Enbridge and what happens within the state of Minnesota when the state of Minnesota is taking money from these companies to, quote, protect and serve for the police forces to serve these types of companies. So I really hope that maybe our relatives in Wisconsin will have opened their eyes and learned something from what happened here. But I mean, we'll have to kind of wait and see. Robert, I didn't have that much other news today. I just wanted to touch base and give some congratulations that there's 5 new tribal historic preservation agreements completed and signed with tribes in 2022. The National Park Service just sent over a press release, and they welcomed the following tribes to the Tribal Historic Preservation Program. The Chemehuevi Indian Tribe of California, La Jolla Band of Luiseno Indians in California, Santa Rosa Indian Community, Santa Ynez Band of Chumash Indians in California, and the Sokoagon Chippewa Tribe in Mole Lake, Wisconsin. So 4 in California and 1 in Wisconsin were joined into the National Park Service Tribal Historic Preservation Program. So that is a good partnership. And the National Park Service is really hoping for more tribes to take part in that program. So if you are a tribal person, like perhaps Robert with the Ho-Chunk Nation, there's more information on the Tribal Historic Preservation Program on their website.
Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to our intern. I'm going to bring her on real quick. Great job yesterday for sitting in for Ogama, and we're gonna have you on the 4th segment. So get ready. All right. Shake your head. Oh, hey, we'll be right back with Rachel Thunder. You're listening to Native Roots Radio.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Health insurance that fits my budget? I'm covered. I needed health coverage I could count on and afford. MNsure helped me find a plan that works for me, and they helped me save money. Did you know that most Minnesotans qualify for savings through MNsure? And they have free experts who can help you sign up for coverage. Go to mnsure.org today and get started and get covered. That's mnsure.org. mnsure.org.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1 U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, everybody. This portion of Native Roots Radio is brought to you by our wonderful supporters on Patreon, and I wanted to give a shout out to our new and very generous sponsor, Joanne, on Patreon. We got the message that you signed up to support us, and Chimigwich, Pinigigi for all of your support, and to all of our other patrons on Patreon. And if you're not yet a Patreon supporter to Native Roots Radio, you can go to patreon.com/Native Roots Radio Network.
Hey, I am super, super stoked tonight to have Rachel Thunder on. And first of all, that's a cool name. I just want to say that real quick. And, to have, we often talk about who's coming up next, what young warriors are coming behind us. There's a lot of great leaders that have passed on recently, and I think things are looking good. And we always talk about how good things are looking for our Native community. And tonight we have Rachel Thunder on, and I want Rachel. First of all, I want to say, Pinigigi, thank you so much for being on, and I want you to talk a little bit about your trek with the Free Leonard Peltier Walk to Justice to Washington, and how that came about, and how it ended, and talk about your work. I'm just really excited to have you on, and thank you so much.
Yeah, Dante, Robert, thank you. Thank you for having me on again. I know that we've been calling in from the walk here to Native Roots Radio, kind of giving updates since the beginning and even like in the planning stages. But I know that there's people listening right now that really haven't maybe heard the whole story. So like Robert asked me to do, I'll start kind of from the beginning. So around 2 years ago, there were those of us that were in the American Indian Movement Grand Governing Council, specifically the women of GGC. And we were having dreams about Elder Leonard Peltier. And for those of you listening, Elder Leonard Peltier, he's the longest held Indigenous political prisoner. He's been held for 47 years by the United States government on aiding and abetting charges. So, about 2 years ago, we were having dreams about him. And the dreams that I was having, I'd be in his prison cell with him, and he would be sitting on his bed, and he would have his face in his hands, and he would never say anything or look at me or anything like that. But I would always tell him to not worry that his people hadn't forgotten about him, and to not worry that his people were coming to get him, and that AIM was coming to get him. And so these dreams that I was having, and some of the other women of AIM, we took these dreams into prayer. We prayed about them. We took them into ceremony. And through those ceremonies, it came in that we were to walk from the heart of the American Indian Movement in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to Washington, D.C., to those people that are in those positions of influence, to release our elder so that he can finally be free with his people. And so we began that planning process, funding, planning logistics, planning the route, seeing who was going to be there, not be there, and all of those different things, navigating COVID at the time. Um, and so finally on September the 1st of this year, 2022, we started the walk here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Um, and we walked 1,103 miles. We walked through Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, South Bend, Indiana, Toledo, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then finally into Washington, D.C. And we just concluded the final mile of the walk on November the 13th. We had a lot of support. It was really beautiful to see all the different people come in from all over Turtle Island, all the different factions of AIM, and all of these different groups and organizations and individuals that have been doing this work for, Leonard Peltier over the years, seeing everybody come together united for one message and one prayer, which is clemency for Leonard Peltier, and sending that message directly to the White House.
Wow, that's amazing. And I talked to Madonna Thunderhawk, and she was there too, right?
Yeah, she was one of our speakers at our rally in front of the Lincoln Memorial on the 13th.
And what a OG she has been. She's been at everything from Alcatraz, even before that, to Line 3 up here. And I always joke when I see her. The last time I saw her in person, except for when she was in Minneapolis a week ago, uh, I saw her on a horse at Wounded Knee. And I was like, she's like 80 years old on a horse, and I'm going, wow. But that's the warrior mentality, and she's been around forever. So what do we had Leonard on more than a few weeks ago, and one of the things that he said that could happen now is that people send letters directly to the president. What is your thought on that, Rachel?
Well, I would say that, of course, letters to the president, letters to the White House, emailing the White House, calling the White House, that's all helpful. It's really good to show that presence and that solidarity, that we're all asking for clemency for Leonard Peltier. But something also in addition to that is really important, and something that I learned while going to these meetings on the Hill following the end of the walk, is that it's really helpful if people can call their local senators and government officials and have them to be a part of these clemency requests that are going to the White House. Being a part of these letters that are being signed by senators and members of the House. And then also specifically asking them to apply pressure to the pardon attorney, who is currently sitting on the clemency petition for 15 months, when normally it takes 8 to 9 months for a recommendation to come from the pardon attorney on a clemency petition.
Wow. Yeah, we'll be blasting that out every day. And Leonard listens to our show and knows that at the end of Native Roots Radio, we always say "Free Leonard Peltier" now, and he's very appreciative. And I think it's really a good point in what you were saying too, that it's important that he knows that we're still thinking of him. 47 years, many lifetimes.
Yeah, I recommend writing him a letter. He writes back almost all of the time. He's responded to letters that I've sent him, and then sending him some money, just help him out while he's in there, so he's comfortable and taken care of.
What is your job with the American Indian Movement now? I see that you're a chapter director now. Is that your new job, or have you had that for a while?
No, I've been a director in the Grand Governing Council for a while for Indiana, Kentucky. But I'm going to be relocating to Minneapolis and just helping the movement be even stronger here at the heart.
Yeah, that's excellent, and that's needed. There's a lot of people that have been involved with AIM over the years that are still here. I can think of a lot of them that are still doing the work and are in the background. And one of the things about AIM that I always really like to talk about is that it's a spiritually led movement, and really it's leaded by the women, regardless of what happened in the 70s with with our with the press loving the male people out in front. The women have been running aim for since almost the beginning.
Mm-hmm. On the walk too, Robert, one of our main goals of the walk, of course, it was a prayer and it's a ceremony, right? And we held it like that the entire way. And I don't feel that the walk would have been successful or even reached DC if we hadn't been grounded in prayer like that, because that was really important, especially on those hard days. But, another goal of the walk was to raise awareness across Turtle Island nationally and internationally. And we were successful in that. There's a lot of people that now know who Leonard is, or know more about the story, or maybe understand more of the pieces of the injustices and the human rights violations that occurred. Because it's not just a Native issue, it's a human rights issue, like you mentioned with so many other things on your show.
You're absolutely right. And I think one of the things, I don't know if you remember me telling you this, but I was down there at the presidential forum in Iowa, the first Native presidential forum. And I had two questions. And the second question was, I just said two words and I want your response. And they were Leonard Peltier. And some of them didn't know that are running for president. It's just like what we ran into with ICWA. Some of those Supreme Court judges didn't know Indian law. And so it's great that that you're out there and we're out there and Ames back and out there letting people know what's up, really.
Yeah. We're not going anywhere. And we're not going to stop, fighting for our elder to be free until he's released, that he can spend time with his people and his community, so he can go to ceremony, so he can spend time with his family, his children, his great-grandchildren. All of these things that he's been robbed of for 47 years. He can't get that back, but they can still let him have this time that he has left on the earth.
Rachel, we're going to take a quick break. Do you mind hanging on through the break, and we can ask a few more questions and really rally upon the great leader that you are and have become. I really appreciate you being on. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll hang around.
Right on. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're with Rachel Thunder of the American Indian Movement. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Health insurance that fits my budget? I'm covered. I needed health coverage I could count on and afford. MNsure helped me find a plan that works for me, and they helped me save money. Did you know that most Minnesotans qualify for savings through MNsure? And they have free experts who can help you sign up for coverage. Go to MNsure.org today and get started and get covered. That's MNsure.org. MNsure.org.
As we head towards colder weather, it's important to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations and protected from COVID-19. The Native American Community Clinic is now administering the updated Pfizer bivalent booster. The updated bivalent booster helps protect against the original COVID-19 strain and against newer Omicron variants. And it will help restore protection that has decreased since previous vaccinations. People age 5 and older are now recommended to get an updated bivalent booster dose at least 2 months after their last COVID-19 shot. That means the bivalent booster may be given after a person's primary series or after their last booster shot, regardless of what brand you received before. Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should get vaccinated. Right now, at the Native American Community Clinic, you can get COVID-19 vaccines, including updated boosters, at the same visit as other vaccines. However, if you've received a recent monkeypox vaccine, you may need to wait 4 weeks before you can get a COVID-19 vaccine, and you should discuss this with your provider. Schedule your vaccination appointment with the Native American Community Clinic by calling 612-872-8086.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Hello, it's Randy Rhodes. Team Randy, glad to be a part of the lineup of Progressive Voices on AM 950. Tune in, join us weeknights at 10.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick. Lilia clear tonight with a low of 19, then sunshine Wednesday with a high of 39. Whether you're dining in or dining out, Eat Local Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors will make your next meal one to remember. Visit the full list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show is brought to you by the Native American Community Development Institute. We want to remind you that the Native American Community Development Institute, or NACD, also partners with the All My Relations Arts Gallery, which is currently showcasing She Who Lives on the Road to War by Rosie Sima's Dance. There are limited performances between now and December 15th for you to be able to watch this wonderful, beautiful dance performance in person. Go to allmyrelationsarts.com to get your tickets.
Awesome. Yes, Rosie's totally awesome. And, her mother has just gotten a few awards in the last month. Who just passed on, Laura Waterman, and she was great on the radio and with McGeezy and all the years. And just really sad to see her go on her journey. We're here with Chapter Director of American Indian Grand Council, Rachel Thunder, and we're talking about a lot of things. We were talking about the walk, but I want to talk about AIM for a minute here. And one of the things that I would like our audience to know is, one, how to get a hold of AIM, how do you become AIM, how do you support AIM, the American Indian Movement, which has been around with your flag in the background since 1968?
Well, there's probably a lot of different answers to that question depending on who you're talking to. But
Right.
for Robert, AIM is AIM. It doesn't matter if you're Grand Governing Council, autonomous, grassroots, independent. If you're doing work for the community and you're serving your community in a good way, and you're that warrior for the people and whatever gifts that you have and you're using them for the people, then you're AIM. And, like you said, the American Indian Movement Grand Governing Council was officially founded in 1968. But in my mind and my heart, AIM and the spirit of AIM has existed since the beginning of colonization. You can't put a date on it. But if you want to get into officially, a sanctioned chapter or a sanctioned support group, then you would reach out to the American Indian Movement Grand Governing Council. So that would be like Lisa Bellinger, Frank Perro, Ray Bacasegua Valdez, all of those individuals and executive Grand Governing Council, and they can kind of walk you through that process. And we do have an email and a website, and that's the AIM GGC website. You can look that up, reach out on there, reach out to us on our Facebook page, all of those things. But you know, I think that some people get confused, they think that if they're not Grand Governing Council, then they're not AIM, and that's not the case. There's a lot of groups out there that are not a part of Grand Governing Council that are doing really, really good work and strong work for their people and for their communities, and they're just as much AIM as anybody else.
Yeah, that's a great point too. And I know we had Clyde on many times on our show, and that's basically what he said too. Clyde Belcourt, the late great Clyde Belcourt, and it's good to hear that tradition too, because believe you me, I have a lot of swag, and I like to represent AIM in a good way when I'm out and about, and it also scares a lot of the Washichus when they see that logo. Oh wow. But that's just me. Hey, does anybody here have any questions? Like our young intern, I know she wants to ask something, don't you?
Yeah. So how is it working with AIM?
I don't think I get I don't consider myself to work for AIM. I just am AIM. I guess if that makes sense. Just it's a lifestyle. It's I go to the grocery store, I'm still AIM. And so if you see anything that's happening or see something, someone needs help or you're there at the right moment or the right time, then you help. That's what you do. You don't have to be wearing a patch or flying the flag or wearing the jacket. You can be AIM anytime. It's not really a job. It's more of a lifestyle or a way of being.
Right.
Wow. That's an awesome question and an awesome response. And that goes back to saying, if you believe you're AIM, you are AIM in a good way, and remembering our values, and also that AIM was founded in a spiritual, it's a spiritual movement. And if you keep that in mind, Rachel, I think you'll be doing good wearing any kind of AIM swag, or just being a OG granny too. Oh,
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, AIM is first and foremost a spiritual movement. And, there's certain values that we hold, working for your communities, having good standing in your communities, and holding sobriety, holding, being that way. And that kind of ties into the being grounded in prayer and traditional ceremony, holding sobriety like that, and setting a good example for your communities and for your people.
and one of the things too, I've noticed, and I try to do this as much as possible, is show up. That's 90% of life, is showing up in wherever, if it is a DNR protest, or a walk for justice, or a walk for Leonard, is to show up and in a good way. And people, appreciate that. And it's showing up, and that's part of being in the community, right, Rachel?
It is. And I think back, there was a few years ago, I was a part of some actions that were happening around an MMIW case. And we were all going to the hearings and to the court cases. And there were people that were complaining, that were saying, oh, I didn't get invited, or why is so-and-so here? They weren't invited. And one of the elders there said, warriors don't need invitations. And I think about that a lot, with all of these different actions and protests or prayers or ceremonies, or however you want to look at it. A warrior doesn't need an invitation, and it shouldn't be divided between different factions or cliques or nations of people. All of these issues that we're up against, they're indigenous issues, they're human rights issues, and we need everybody to stand together on it.
Yeah, that's well put, and it's great to see that you and AIM are saying that, because it's very important. We have a legacy with the American Indian movement, a strong legacy, and to be united as Native Americans, Indigenous people of the North, is what we need to do. And the colonized thinking is to divide us, and we don't want to be divided. We see what happens with that, and it's great to hear you say these things, Rachel.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, Robert. And that was one of the things that we felt really good about in DC, you know, because they traditionally, this colonization or that mindset, or colonizers or settlers, however it's like a mindset, it's not a race of people. One of the tactics that have been used against our people is to divide us and to make us look like we're not united. And all the
I think we just lost Rachel.
I think we did. Technology is, you know, Robert, when you talk about powerful stuff, sometimes technology starts to go a little haywire, right?
Well, you know, and I agree, and I've always told you the story, Ogma. It's like we're made out of electrons, and you know, we're around electrons and uh, things like that. And it looks like, oh, look at our friend Beth. AIM kicked the doors open. That's right. Beth of Warrior Women director, and I just saw Warrior Women on TPT just a couple nights ago. That was just awesome to have that on, and these things. How much do you know? I'm going to ask our intern. How much do you know about the American Indian movement as being a youngster?
As
Oh
being a
wow!
youngster, I'd say I know enough to know what it is, but I don't know everything. Everyone has something to learn, and I want to be more involved in learning and being AIM, like Rachel was saying.
Yeah, that's a great way to think too. And I know, Ogama, when you were down during the George Floyd ordeal, protecting stuff, you had some AIM swag on too, and you were AIM too, right?
I was, yeah. During the riots that followed the murder of George Floyd, there was a number of people organized by NACD and with the help of AIM in Minneapolis, because leadership had just transferred over, and Native Roots Radio had helped cover that information immediately preceding that. Me and my now spouse drove down to the Twin Cities and you know, brought our car and parked it in front of the doors of the Minneapolis American Indian Center, and stayed up all night, 2 nights in a row, ready for what might have happened on Franklin Avenue. And there was a lot of people in the community and from outside the community like us who had showed up to play that role. And that, I think, really is what the spirit of AIM is about. It's people who show up and people who are there to protect and serve our communities directly.
Ogama, do you have a time to play? Do we have time to play that clip right now that we were talking about? And maybe you can.
Um,
We can
you
go a
know,
little.
I don't know how much time we have left in the segment, Robert. I think we're coming up on just a couple of minutes left in the segment, but
Right.
I know that. Oh, go ahead, Robert. I can't see the times. Can you tell?
Yeah, we have a minute and 40 seconds.
Yeah, it was about a 3-minute clip, but I could start the next segment with it if you want, Robert. Leonard Peltier
Yeah.
sent a statement for a day of mourning today or earlier this week, and we would be happy to. I was able to read it out earlier today, so.
So did you do it with some music in the background and a male voice, or did you just do it? No, I'm just kidding. Hey.
I couldn't do it in Leonard Peltier's voice, but Beth Castle just chimed in and reminded us that AIM is a movement and a mindset. AIM is Women of All Red Nations, and that she'll keep Native Roots Radio in the loop as she launches the Women of Wounded Knee exhibit for the 50th anniversary. So we're really excited about that. Women of Wounded Knee exhibit sounds phenomenal. Miigwech to you, Beth.
Yeah, and it'll be down at Wounded Knee too. So I'm going to try and get down there this year for the 50th anniversary, and hopefully see Madonna Thunderhawk on a horse again for her 82nd birthday. That blew my mind. But hey, why don't we take a quick break here, and we'll lead off. We'll have you intro Leonard's letter and have you read it. So it's good. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Hi, this is Robert Pilot here telling you about Minnesota Native American art. Did you know that Twin Cities is known for Native art? Well, if you're not familiar, then check out All My Relations Arts. It's a program that seeks to increase the visibility and value of these incredibly talented American Indian artists in all forms of art while honoring the history and the presence of Indigenous cultures. And right now, All My Relations Arts is showcasing Rosie Seamus Dance, She Who Lives on the Road to War. This is an immersive installation dance performance created by Rosie Seamus in response to global loss and the collective need to come together in peace and reconciliation. She Who Lives on the Road to War is a place for visitors to rest, grieve, console, and meditate. Performances will take place through mid-December. Find the performance schedule at allmyrelationsarts.com. I love all the Indigenous art here in the Twin Cities, and I hope you can enjoy it too. allmyrelationsarts.com.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me one. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah.
Intern kicked it in
That's a
today
good one.
too. Good one. Yes. Right on. Hey, we're back here, and we're going to be taking a break. We're going to have best ofs on the next few days here on the Civic Media Network. But we're talking. Yesterday, we had a great conversation about Thanksgiving and what it means to a lot of Native Americans, and so I think it'd be fitting, Ogma, if you read Leonard's letter, and maybe I could put some music in the background, or maybe not. Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. Leonard Peltier's or representatives of Leonard Peltier have sent Leonard Peltier's official Day of Mourning statement for 2022, and it is available for the public. So, without further ado, I will read that now. Greetings, my relatives, friends, loved ones, and supporters. First, I want to say how deeply grateful I am that you would want to hear what I have to say. It is an honor to be with you in spirit, though I am far away. Being my age and having spent these many years in prison plays on your heart to the nth degree. I am here because I wanted to make a difference for our people, and I want to encourage others to do the same. My heart has not changed, and my intentions have not changed. The love and faith I have in our future generation has not changed. All the world now faces the same challenges that our people foretold regarding climate damage being caused by people who take more than they need, dismissing the teachings of our fathers and the knowledge of countless generations living upon the earth in harmony. I may sound a bit dramatic and sensitive, but after all these years and the 78 journeys around the sun, I often feel and think that I should speak my mind and heart to whomever I can, whenever I can, because at my age, you never know if you are going to live another 20 years or 20 minutes. Our people have been through a lot. Generations have been imprisoned, beaten, murdered, dispossessed of our lands, and they fought so we might live. We are proud of our ancestors. I have tried to make the best of my time upon the earth in my given circumstances. To say the least, this has not been an enjoyable life journey, but I am proud to have been given a chance to stand for our people. I encourage you to do the same. I am not a speaker, but I have spoken. I am not a leader, but I have led. Having said this, knowing what I know now, feeling what I've felt, seeing what I've seen, and hearing what I've heard, I would do it all over again. For as our ancestors loved a future for us, I love all people who have walked upon this earth. I recognize her as the greatest manifestation of the Creator, and she should be recognized as such. On this day of mourning, I encourage you with a hopeful heart to continue to gather and have ceremony in remembrance of all our people, especially those who have given their lives so that we might live. Each of you has within you the potential to make a difference in the world. Each of you has the opportunity and ability to do one act of kindness to someone in need and one act to make the earth a better place for all life. I, with the help of others, have started a food forest movement. We encourage all people throughout the earth to plant at least one fruit-bearing tree so that the animals and all creatures of the earth will have healthier food, better air, and cleaner water. Forgive me if I have said too much or too little. Time in this place is often irrelevant to the task at hand. May the Creator bless you, your families, and all our peoples of like mind. Peace, love, and blessings in the spirit of Crazy Horse. Doksha, Leonard Peltier, Mitakoyasin.
Wow, thank you, Ogama, for reading that.
Yeah, it was brought me to tears when I read it earlier today when it came in.
Free Leonard Peltier now. Again, just to briefly touch on it again, what Rachel said and what we've talked about many times is that he's not in prison for murder. He's in for aiding and abetting. And if he wasn't Native American and if they didn't want to teach us a lesson, he would have been out after a few years in prison for aiding and abetting a murder. So we pray for him. He's 78 years old, and we need him out as soon as possible. It gets really emotional when this can happen here in this land of so-called free and brave and all those things. It's disappointing. How do the young ones feel? How do you feel? It's been a pretty heavy duty show today.
I know a lot of my peers really believe in the cause, believing in we need to free this. He doesn't deserve to be in jail, and we have to do what we can as people.
Yeah, good words there. And Ogama, the things that are suggested are letters to the senators now and the representatives because they're on the radar. It sounds like Rachel and people from American Indian Movement were able to talk to some senators when they were in Washington for the walk.
Yeah, Rachel had mentioned that. And for those of you that are listening, I know Leonard Peltier encouraged planting of a fruit tree if you can, which is funny because I did do that earlier this year. I was able to acquire some choke cherries and planted those. But it's winter now, and you can take some time and warm up and send letters to your senators, to your representatives, or to President Biden, asking for Leonard Peltier's clemency and immediate release. So if you haven't yet, make sure to Google who are my representatives, and you'll most likely get a pretty quick and easy answer to find who your representatives are and how to contact them directly.
Yeah, it's ironic too, in a good way, that Leonard mentioned to plant these fruit trees or fruit plants, so our relatives with hooves and tails and fins and big schnozzes can eat too, because they take over my yard anyway. So got a possum back there now.
A possum, that I don't know that I've ever seen a possum in real life, but I'm excited because they're gentle and sweet creatures. So consider yourself blessed. We have woodpeckers where I live, which are nice to see.
We do too. Well, we have the squirrel. What we have in our backyard, because Wendy feeds them, is we have, of course, squirrels. We just got a white squirrel showing up too. So we have like a dozen squirrels. We have a raccoon that comes every night, and he's got little burglar mask on and little fingers and a thumb. And then of course we have the blackbirds, the big hawks. The eagles fly over our head too, and so we got to protect our little dogs. And so we have many sacred animals flying over the pilot residence here in sunny St. Paul, Minnesota.
We're having in the spirit of Wendy Pilot, who's not on today, we're having a little bit of an animal section acknowledging our sacred relatives with many different ways of transportation. And we're about to see those colder months. So remember to be kind to all living things. And Robert, what do you usually close the show with?
Well, I wanted to say this before I close the show, is that people, if you're with your families, love them, hold them, talk to them. We don't know how long they'll be with us. And to our relatives that have passed on, we will see you again soon, and hold a place for us in a good way. And for people that are celebrating, celebrate with your family and be thankful that they're still with us, and talk to somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time, because everybody needs to be talked to in a good way. So we need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. You've been listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. We'll see you live Monday. Listen to our best ofs. We'll be back next week live.
Holiday fun is always on tap at the Park Tavern. The Park Tavern is open regular hours throughout the